children! It's me again, Teacher May, and today we will learn about the sexual reproduction in plants. Are you ready to learn, kids? That's great! Let's begin. Sexual reproduction in plants. Like other living things, plants also reproduce. In fact, they reproduce in different ways. Plants that reproduce sexually involve the union of egg cell and sperm cell. These plants can either be flowering or non-flowering. Plants that bear seeds also produce flowers. They are called flowering plants. Plants that bear spores like ferns, liverworts, and mosses do not produce flowers and are classified as non-flowering plants. Spores are similar to the seeds of flowering plants and carry reproductive cells. What is sexual reproduction in flowering plants? It is focused around the flower. Besides its petals, the flower has parts that are vital in the process of reproduction. Study the picture that follows. Here are the parts of the flower. The parts of the flower that provide support and protection to the flower are the sepal, receptacle, and pedicel. The sepal is more visible when the flower is just a bud because it protects the bud until it opens and blooms. The receptacle is the base that holds the whole flower. It is also the one that is connected to the pedicel. The pedicel is the flower stalk. The flower has two main reproductive parts, the pistil and the stamen. The pistil is the female reproductive part, while the stamen is the male reproductive part. Inside the pistil is the ovary, where the ovule that contains the eggs can be found. The stamen has the anther where powdery substances are located. These powdery substances are the pollen grains that encase the sperm cells. The stamen is also composed of long and slender stalks called filaments, which support the anthers. Sexual reproduction in flowering plants happens during pollination, or the process by which the pollen is transferred from the anther to the stigma, allowing the pollen to reach and fertilize the eggs. The process starts when the petal, which is the colorful part of the flower, attracts insects. When insects like butterflies and bees get nectar from flowers, pollen grains stick to their hairy legs. As the insects move, they carry the pollen grains with them until the pollen grains fall into the sticky opening of the style called stigma. The pollen moves into the style, which is the tube that connects the ovary and the stigma. The pollen produces a pollen tube that grows and reaches the eggs. The sperm cell from the pollen moves through the pollen tube and fertilizes the egg. Other animals that aid in pollination include birds, bats, and other fruit-eating animals that may come in contact with flowers. The pollens can stick to the hair or feathers of these animals and be transferred to the stigma when animals move. Non-living things can also aid pollination. Wind can blow the pollen from the stamen to the pistil. Plants that depend on wind for pollination produce huge amounts of pollen that can easily be blown by wind. Water from rain can also aid in pollination. The flow of water can carry the pollen and transfer it to the pistil. The fertilized egg cell becomes the seed's embryo. Seeds, like human babies, need to be protected. After fertilization, the ovary of the flower develops into a fruit. The fruit protects the seeds. As the fruit ripens, it detaches from the branch and falls to the ground. The fruit then decomposes, releasing the seeds. Given the proper conditions, the seeds grow into new plants. Animals can also aid in seed dispersal. When animals eat the fruit, they deposit the seeds in different areas, allowing them to grow. Plants that have fruits like mango and apple trees are examples of flowering plants. Before the fruits are seen, you can observe flowers bloom on these trees. Most flowering plants are used as garden plants because of their attractive flowers such as orchids, sampaguita, and santan. What is sexual reproduction in non-flowering plants? Non-flowering plants have spores that allow reproduction. Spores are pollen-like structures of non-flowering plants that grow into gametophyte. A gametophyte is a tiny plant that grows low on the ground and produces both sperm and egg cells. The life cycle of plants with spores includes two different stages: sporophyte and gametophyte stages. In sporophyte stage, the plant produces spores. In gametophyte stage, the plant produces its sex cells, the egg cells, and sperm cells. A fern is a good example of a spore-bearing plant. The yellow, sometimes reddish, powdery stuff on the underside of fern leaves are the spores cases, and inside them are the spores. A cluster of sporangia is called sorus. When the spores of ferns and mosses mature, they are released into the air. If a spore lands in a suitable place where it can receive enough water, sunlight, and nutrients, it germinates and forms a gametophyte. The gametophyte then develops structure that produce egg and sperm cells. For fertilization to happen, the sperm cell needs to swim in water, from rain or dew to the egg cell. After some time, the fertilized egg grows into a young sporophyte, then into mature sporophyte, ready to release new batches of spores. That's all for today. I hope you learned something and keep on studying. Have a good day!